Whatever you do, make sure you visit ashkicking.com for your home fragrance, health, and beauty needs. Quality products at a great price.
Hi, you're watching DONTAE'S Boxing Nation. Woo!
And your second question, brother, the thing is, it's hard to really say Kell Brook looks good against southpaws because he hasn't been in there with a world-class southpaw. You know what I mean? He hasn't been in there with a top-notch southpaw. Like, see, I could say Amir Khan does good against southpaws. You know what I mean? Because what he did to Zab Judah, what he did to Devin Alexander. Yeah, that's a person you could say does good against southpaws. But we don't have any proof, when it comes to, or any evidence to suggest that he does good against southpaws when it comes to Kell. I think Kell Brook, he's going to move around the ring. He's going to try to frustrate Errol Spence by tying him up. I think Errol Spence is going to be way too strong in the clinch. I think, he's going to be destroying Kell Brook's inside. And eventually, as the fight progresses, Kell Brook, he's going to want to stay off the ropes, but he's going to start inching closer and closer to them ropes as the rounds progress. And eventually, he going to whisper to his trainers and say, let's go home and go get a drink. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Let's call it a wrap. That's how I see the fight playing out. And that's no diss to Kell Brook. I still believe that Kell Brook is the best welterweight champion, at least. I still believe he's the most complete welterweight champion. I still believe this is going to be a tough fight, though. Don't get me wrong. I still think this is going to be a tough fight for the first half. No doubt Errol's going to have to figure him out, just like he had to figure out Bundu. But even though he was winning the majority of those rounds, he had to figure Bundu out. A lot of people didn't really pay attention to that. But I don't see this. I don't see Kell Brook having anything spectacular for the southpaw stance, man. But thanks for your question, brother.
Not a problem. And I just wanted to say that you are doing a wonderful job and keep being 100% fair and balanced, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you, brother. Thank you, man. So, yeah, man.
I got to ask, man. Hey, Kirk, you there, bro?
Yeah.
What is your feeling about Kell Brook? How do you feel about it? I know Dontae thinking he's the best welterweight out there right now. What you thinking? I just want to see if we can get a consensus.
And Fred, too, we could ask him the same question.
Yeah,
but go ahead, Kirk.
I forgot about Fred from Barbershop.
Yeah, Kell Brook, he proved a lot to me when he fought Sean Porter. I was impressed by that performance, how he handled Sean Porter's pressure and was able to nullify him by clinching and trying to turn him. And he had some crappy moves on the inside. He snuck some punches in, so I was impressed with that performance. I was impressed with what he did against Triple G when he moved up to middleweight, the punch variation that was mentioned earlier. He's a nice fighter. It's just he has a limited opposition, so I'd like to see him test his abilities against the greater fighters out there in his weight class. I think he's a top welterweight. I think it's hard to argue that he'd be.
I won't say he's not a top welterweight.
Mm-hmm. And just for Go ahead.
I do think Errol Spence. I have him as that guy, the next guy to really take over, and I think he's going to beat the brakes off of Brook. And I don't mean to disrespect Brook and his chocolate brownies, but Errol Spence he's a whole nother animal. I think he's going to break him down to the body. I think he's going to test that orbital bone, see if that's still have some damage, lingering damage from the Golovkin fight. I think he's going to break him down and stop him in the late rounds.
Yeah, and Barbershop, I mean, there's a reason why so many professional boxers and trainers, me and you, we out there interviewing these guys all the time. And what do cats usually say when you be talking to these professional boxers and trainers about Errol Spence?
About Errol?
Mm-hmm.
They say they wish they would invest. They wish they had stock in him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And but you know what I would say? Someone asked me today, Dante, who would I bet on if you had a gun to my head? And I actually told him Kell Brook. For real. I told him Kell Brook. And interesting. The reason why I said Kell Brook is because he's going into the fight down 2 rounds.
Uh-huh.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, in the backyard. Yeah, in his backyard. Uh-huh.
He's in his backyard. He has a country behind him. and the fight is overseas, and he's the IBF champion, which is run by Eddie Hearn. So there's a whole lot of entities that goes into this fight. Now, if you don't believe Eddie Hearn runs the IBF, then something is probably wrong with you. But I think that he creates some type of leverage in this fight, being that he's strong. I know Errol Spence is strong, but he doesn't have the end game experience as a Kell Brook. Regardless of who Kell Brook fought, I think it's like he's plus 13 to 15 fights over Errol Spence, and I think those little things that you don't see in the fight will pay dividends for Kell Brook. And if the fight was in America, I would take Errol Spence hands down. But the fight is overseas.
I love that, though. I love the division, though, when we talk about stuff like that, because, you know, when we all just saying, you know, one person's going to win, it's not as, you know, interesting. But, yeah, when you have split decisions on who we think is going to win, that just makes the fight even that more intriguing. And I want to say something because, you know, these decals in the comment section, they'll be like I interviewed, who did I interview? Abel Sanchez. He's picking Kell Brook. You know, for the same reason. He said, you know, because, you know, Abel Sanchez is big. He's really high on Errol Spence. He really praised him. Me and Fred, you remember Fred, when we interviewed him, he was praising the hell out of Errol Spence. But he said, but in this fight, Dante, the experience, I think, may be too much, kind of like alluding to what Barbershop just said. So he said he's picking Kell Brook too. And I remember some dude in the comment section like, oh man, I bet that pisses Dante off that he picked that guy. Let me tell you something. It doesn't matter what another person picks on a prediction. We're going to see the fight anyway. Right. And furthermore, I'll be honest with you, especially when someone, for me as a reporter, and when we uploading videos, I prefer, you know, a professional to pick the guy on the hope list to win, because y'all will tune in more because that's what y'all ass want to see. You know what I'm saying? That's why. Yeah.
I'll say this. At the time Floyd fought Hernandez, everybody know that Hernandez was a tremendously gifted, experienced. He had the experience. The time in the ring. It's just been a few other times when I just think it's that time. I think he is the future. I really and truly believe that. I'm not as impressed with the Sean Porter win as Kirk was. It was a damn good win, but Sean Porter. I didn't appreciate the clinching. I understand there's effective clinching, but man, it was a bit much. It was excessive, man. Yeah. It was excessive, and I think that if he thinks he's gonna hold Errol Spence in the clinch like that, he got his liver and his stomach. You probably gonna see what he had for breakfast. You know, I'm serious, man. This cat is a vicious body puncher. And I'm just saying, I think that is going to be the difference in the fight. The early body puncher that Earl is going to put on him.
Something else I noticed too, you notice the respect that Kell has for Errol Spence whenever he mentions his name compared to when he was in the ring with Golovkin. I mean, with Golovkin, he wasn't praising Golovkin the way every time he talks about Errol Spence, he says the guy is good, but, you know, he's going to bring the best out of me and this and this and this and that. When he was talking about Golovkin, he was talking about his flaws.
Yeah,
He was like, he's flat-footed. Yeah, he's big. Only praise he gave him was the fact that Golovkin was big, much bigger than him, strong, had power. But when he talks about Errol Spence, it's a complete different demeanor. When he's talking about Errol Spence.
I think at the press conference last week, I think that was some nervousness. I've never seen him just...
I think so.
Yeah, I think that was a little bit of him trying to get himself hyped up.
Before he signed the contract, it was some nervous. He was nervous, you know what I mean? He had no choice but to take this fight. What's that?
No, I was going to say, when a fight is signed, he becomes your toughest opponent. Don't forget that. You know what I mean? So, when same thing when Jacob signed with Triple G, it was we're looking for Canelo, but we'll fight Jacob if it comes on. We'll fight Billy Joe Saunders if it comes along. But when the contract is signed, you have to make the public believe this is the fight of my life.
Right.
This is genuinely whether Kell Brook believes it or not. You got to make us believe it. And I think that was his perspective. He's like, this guy is coming to my hometown. You think he's really going to beat me?
Yeah.
You know, he wants him. See, the one thing, last thing. The one thing you don't want to do is allow an alpha male to be an alpha male. And same thing holds for Westbrook, the Kobe Bryant, and now the Earl Spence. You want Earl Spence to be the passive guy. Because if he comes in passive, you eliminate one of the advantages that God gave him. You understand what I'm saying? So that may be his ploy.
Yeah, that mental
edge.
edge.
Sure, there you go.
I just will say, no doubt about it, there's a part of it is promoting the fight, and then there's also a part where they're just being real. Where, and like I said, you could just read a certain type of body language. You're right. Obviously, you're supposed to sell the fight. We've seen guys, fighting bums, and they's like, hey, y'all, I'm telling you, this dude is a good fighter. I'm telling y'all, man. We see Canelo do it all the time. Oh, man, Khan, that Khan guy, he's a monster, man. He's going to be this, and of course they're going to sell it. But he did give Golovkin props. And I mean, he didn't have to really sell it that much because it was already David versus Goliath. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying, I truly believe that even before he signed the contract, Errol Spence, Kell Brook, before he signed the contract, he kept saying that Errol Spence kid, he's good, but we're going to see how good he is. And I just feel he looks at Errol Spence the same way these professional boxers and trainers that we interview look at him.
Oh, recognized game.
Game, skill, recognized skill, all of that. Let's try to take another call, guys. We got 530. What's going on, 530? What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yo, what up, Dante?
What's going on? Who's this?
We're Marysville, California. My name's Miguel Fields. I'm out here walking, man. We've been on hold for days. I'm with my boys. Yo, what up, Dante?
Hey, man.
Hey, Dante. First off, I want to say I was a fan when you had that original Mexican girl when she turned around with the ring card. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah. One of my OG intros.
Yeah,
one of my OG intros.
Boxing, I knew that was my new favorite show. But I wanted to say something about Golovkin.